Alrighty, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Converge stage. We are on day number 1 of Switch 2025, and we're about to jump into the second session for today. Now, we navigated the complexities of air traffic management early in our first session. Now, for those of you who didn't join us before, don't worry, because coming up next would be exciting content. So we're going to land in another vibrant and very essential sector for Singapore, which is tourism. Now, in this dynamic segment powered by the Singapore Tourism Board, we will be taking a dive into the impact of the Singapore Tourism Accelerator, also known as STA. So hear directly from successful alumni startups and tourism industry leaders, gaining first-hand insights into the key trends and the challenges in shaping the sector. So please join me in welcoming the host for this segment. From STB, we have Lim Si-min.
Hello, thank you, Fiona. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Si-min, and I'm from the Singapore Tourism Board, and I'm your host today. So a warm welcome to all of you. Today we are embarking on an exciting topic, Beyond the Horizon, scouting the next wave of tourism innovation. So the tourism landscape continues to evolve and shaped by emerging technologies and changing traveler expectations. We'll be exploring how technology is reshaping the travel experience, and most importantly, how tech innovators like yourself are driving this transformation. So to get us started, we are now handing the stage over to our speaker and moderator, Mr. Patrick from Velocity Ventures. So Patrick focuses on investing and mentoring visionary founders, transforming Southeast Asia's travel and hospitality sector. He brings distinguished hospitality leadership experience, having served as the CEO of Pan Pac Hotel Group and CEO of Intercontinental Hotel Group Asia Pacific. So if you are a startup or a tech company in the room, so this is your chance to hear exactly what the investors are looking for. So Patrick, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Si-min, and welcome everybody. Well, just to get a feeling in the room before, how many of you are actually working in a startup? Could you put your hand up? Okay. So I see a couple of familiar faces. And how many are actually the founders of the startup? Okay, cool. All right, excellent. Well, what I want to do is today, I want to firstly start and just give you a little bit of a feel of what we're seeing and what works. And when I say what we're seeing and what works, is the two ingredients that make a startup successful are 1, the founder, and 2, everything that goes with the startup, okay? So we've seen over the last 5 years, we've just finished deploying fund number 1, so we've finished our fund deployment mode, but over the last 5 years, we've seen about 1,500 companies come through. Of the 1,500, we've actually interacted with about 650. Of the 650, we've actually had deep discussions with about 70, 75, and we've invested in 12. So that's about 1 in 105 or something like that. Okay, so let's start with what do we see as the clear runners for a solid founder? 1 is vision and clarity. In other words, can the founder stay absolutely focused on the task, pivot when he or she or they need to, but not lose sight of their vision? What about the execution ability? In other words, yes, I know what needs to be done, but does it get done? In a startup, you all know there's limited resources, limited ability to waste. Therefore, it's absolutely critical that the execution ability is strong. Resilience and grit. For the founders in the room, I'm sure that if you're into fundraising mode, you've probably did 50 pitches before somebody actually wrote a check for you or transferred some money to you. So do you have the resilience and grit? Does the founder have the resilience and grit to make things happen? Then it's coaching and self-awareness. The coachability is really important. Later we're going to hear from Emmanuel, who's come from cohort number 7 at the STA, and how you build an environment around you, but how do you listen to people? How do you ask questions? How does your curiosity never end? Founder market fit. You've got to understand the market. If there's 2 founders, one might come from technology, one might come from the commercial side, but do they understand the sector? You'd be surprised the amount of people that have pitched to us, and when we try to find out how well they know the sector, they say, well, you know what, I love traveling. I love this, I love that. Well, that's well and good, but do they understand the domain that they're dealing with? And team building is important because, as you know, a founder will bring one person on, then another person on, then another person on. So how do you continually make the team gel? How do you, in fact, make tough decisions with the team? And how do you build the capability to scale up? So there's some of the attributes that we really look for in a founder. And we have seen that if those attributes are strong, then there's a higher likelihood of success. Now let's turn to what makes a great startup. Well, product solution fit. You'd be surprised of how many times we've heard, this is a great solution, now let's go and look for the problem. You can't lose sight of what the problem is, the problem statement, what you're trying to do. And emotion aside, is it really the fit? Is it really what you're focusing on? The market opportunity, is it marketable? Is the size of the market big enough to get the scalability? Often we hear someone say, you know what, I've got an OTA equivalent. It's absolutely for visitors and guests with pets. And don't forget that the TAM, the total addressable market, is $240 billion. Well, not everybody travels with pets. So let's be serious about what the market could be as opposed to what we'd like it to be. Very important is the business model, monetization. Is there enough funding to get you to the next stage? Is it like, there's nothing worse for a VC like us to hear, well, we're raising 3 million because we need 3 million for 12 months runway. No. Where are the funds going? Is it about scalability? Is it about enhancing technology? It's very important you understand the model. Traction and metrics are very important. How do you set traction with metrics that you can monitor so you can tell your investors, look, I want to capture this, I want to do this, I want to have this technology in place. That needs to be well thought through, otherwise you're just drifting. Competitive advantage. How do you build something that prevents the next person from coming in and repeating it in 24 hours? How do you build something that people would go, wow, I need to be a part of that? These are all the type of attributes that we expect in a startup. There's the macro world, like if we were talking during COVID, I'd say, well, you know, not many people are going to invest in companies that invest and develop in tourism during COVID. So you have to pick your macro, the stars have to be aligned. But I hope that's giving you a little bit of a flavour of the experience we've had and some of the things that, you know, a lot of you would go, yeah, I know that, but retest it, rethink about it. Ask people around you, am I A, B, C, D? It's really, really important. Now, let's get the panel started, and I think we're going to invite Serene and Emmanuel up.
Yeah.
Simin, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. So now let's move on to our next segment of our fireside chat. please welcome our Singapore Tourism Accelerator alumni who have successfully scaled their solutions in the tourism space, Mr. Emmanuel Tay, CEO and co-founder of Circular Unite. So Emmanuel is the CEO and co-founder at Circular Unite, where he leads the charge in developing innovative solutions for waste management and recycling. Then now, please welcome Ms. Serene Pei, Director of Operations and Asset Development at Mount Faber Leisure Group, who provide the industry perspective of tech adoption. With over 20 years of experience, she leads key functions including asset development, facilities management, and product development. So thank you all for being here, and Patrick, the stage now is yours to kick off the fireside chat.
Simin, thank you so much. Guys, welcome. Thank you. I did some positioning before just to give a bit of context, but having you here as one of the alumni of cohort number 7, I believe,
Yes.
2 years ago?
2 years, yes.
Okay. Grab your microphone, and Emmanuel, I've got the first question for you. We're in Marina Bay Sands. I believe that was one of your first customers.
Yes.
But you didn't head towards the hospitality industry necessarily. It became a vertical for you. Can you give us an understanding of what made you shift to that vertical?
All right, so I started out with not exactly using a technology to service our clients. We started out more as a consultancy-based business. And then in mid of 2023, that's where we started to say, hey, if we want to scale the business, we need to transform and pivot into a tech-based business. And that's where we introduced our very first SaaS platform that helps our clients track, measure, monitor their waste and recycling. And that's where we look at it and we analyze and, okay, which are the industries that we should be focusing on? Because we cannot be focusing on everybody. If you think about it, every industry generates waste. So who should we be focusing on? And we happened to chance upon the Singapore Tourism Accelerator, and the challenge problem or the problem statement that the industry have exactly fits what our solution can actually do. And that's where we tested out our first pilot with Marina Bay Sands, and subsequently, even before the pilot ends, they are already our customer.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Doesn't happen every time. And now, of all your customers, how many are in tourism and hospitality?
Currently, I would say about 70% are in tourism. If you were to also classify the shopping malls as tourism, or having the same kind of industry, then I would say probably about 90%.
Okay, understand. The service industry wider. Mount Faber Leisure Group, asset management, responsible for the experience, responsible for everything. You're always looking for innovation, always looking at doing things. Can you tell us when you get approached, Serena, by a startup, by a new concept, by a new technology, what are the type of things you look for?
Well, as you mentioned, we have a wide span of areas to cover, and there is always problem in all elements. So when we approach like T-Cube as a platform, we will always look at what are the available vendors and solutions they have. And we will have to prioritize which vendor or which problem statement should we go for at that particular T-Cube or cohort. Reason being, as a smaller startup or as a attraction operators, we have limited resources, not just time, the manpower that's involved. All these require us to decide which to start first. And when we approach the vendors, we will always talk to them to see, is there opportunity to co-create things together? If you are here to just selling things, then chances is I don't need to go through this exercise. I will just buy it off the shelf. Yeah. So for any vendors that would like to look at collaborations opportunity, look at co-creating it and not just trying to sell a product.
So you're really talking about partnerships, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, with that, if you had to give me a percentage, how many times do you go out there looking for a technological or a creative solution to a problem? And how many times does somebody knock on your door and say, hey, my name's Emmanuel, I've got a solution for you?
I would say 80% of my time is actually trying to see what kind of new technology I can weave in together to help our operations. Because our operating context is quite unique. We run the cable car operations, we have attractions that is unique. It's only one in Singapore. So getting something to be totally off the shelf for us is not that possible. Past 80% of the time, we are looking for new solutions and different vendors where we can bring together and create some kind of solution that fits our operations. Yeah.
Thank you. Emmanuel, you've done a lot of pitching to various industries, and what do you see when you're there talking to someone and you're saying, this is what I can do for you, this is what I can do? There's an impact in your world and there's an economics. And I guess you tailor it to who you're pitching to, but what are you seeing with regard to the impact statements that some of the companies are seeing? Are they prepared to put money behind it?
I think that's a very good question.
I thought so as well.
It is, yeah. So the thing about solutions is that people are only interested if it's add values to them, right? So value can come from impact value, it can be from cost, it can be from revenue. If you look at waste is not something that people look at or talk about all the time. Probably there's this saying that waste is out of sight, out of mind. So nobody is actively looking at, how am I going to solve this problem? So a lot of times when we started, we had to go an additional step to let them know the importance of waste management and how solutions like ours can add value to them. And we started out with a lot of these pilots that actually show results to them. So the matrices that we usually track for our clients would be your typical reporting matrices, like the amount of waste that you can divert, the amount of recyclables that you have, how is this then converted into carbon emission numbers for reporting purpose. On top of that, what we did was we added dollar value to it, so that when they look at our dashboard and they say, hey, these are the reports, these are my performance, and this is dollar value savings that I have from using your solution. And that actually added that confidence and that trust to our clients and say, yeah, okay, this is the right solution. We are actually saving money from it. And I will continue to use your solution even after this trial period, after the pilot program, etc.
So what I'm hearing is that whilst you might have an altruistic product or proposition, there needs to be economics associated around it, because just knocking on the door and saying I'm here is not going to get you a deal, correct?
Yes. A lot of times the first conversation is, can this help us save money? Yeah.
Which is a nice conversation to have. Okay. Serena, if I look at the Mount Faber Leisure Group and let's call them pilots that have been successful, without going into it, I'm not trying to compromise it, what are the characteristics that makes a pilot successful for you as a corporate decision maker?
Well, of course, does it bring money? That's the first thing that comes to our mind. Or does it save a lot of costs?
So economic proposition?
Yeah, that's a very realistic kind of proposition. But the other part we look at is also about, for example, sustainability in terms of all aspects, whether is it for future proofing, in terms of managing our resources, our manpower, as well as our knowledge. For example, recently we embarked with a vendor who happened to be on site, Alan, on a trial to see how can we keep knowledge management on technical knowledge to be sustainable and pass on to the next generation, so that we don't rely just on the senior workers, and we can make the younger workers that join us, even in a short span of 3 months or so, be skilled up to the same level. So when we look at the partnership, it can be in all areas, not just monetary, but also the intangible value that it can bring to our operations. Yeah.
So economics, cost reduction, revenue enhancing, those type of things. And what are the red flags what are the things that when you're being pitched at or a vendor comes in to see you, what are the things that, I'm not feeling comfortable with that? What do you sense? Now you're smiling, so there must be a
There's
few.
quite a few scenarios. For example, some vendors will just keep saying, yes, can. But they've not even thought about it. And I'm sure they don't know how my operations run. So if you never even prod further and just say yes, chances is you don't know what you are talking about and you are just here to sell me something. That's the first red flag to me. And the other red flag is keep delaying timeline, not being able to provide any output based on our agreed timeline. But every meeting you will say, oh, no problem, we will provide you something the next meeting. So this type of startup trial that we have with T-Cube actually helps to identify learning lessons where we can actually take back and eventually put in our tender for a long-term partnership. Yeah.
Sorry, please,
Yeah,
of course.
can I just add to that? I think some of us here are startup founders and you want to know, okay, how do we actually manage some of these pilots and manage expectations as well? I think the key point over here is communications. It's all about communications. So understanding what your customer needs instead of like going in and say yes, yes, yes all the way, but understanding, okay, these are your process flow, these are your pain points. You may have 3 or 4 pain points, but I don't say yes to all 3 to 4. I say yes to 1 or 2, and then we work towards that 1 or 2 while we set up for number 3 and number 4. And then having that timeline in place to say, okay, we will be solving pain point 1 and pain point 2, and this is how I'm going to solve it. I'm not saying no to 3 and 4 first, but let's look at 1 and 2 before we move on to 3 and 4. And that actually helps you scope out your work. So as a startup founder, we always want to try to impress our clients and say, yes, I can do everything. But that's not the best strategy. The best strategy is to manage your resources well and say yes to 1 or 2 of the pain points, or even with just 1 pain point, and prove to the client that you are the right person to work with so that they can work with you on 2, 3, and 4 as well. And that actually helps in scoping out the pilot, scoping out that trial, scoping out the whole the work that needs to be done for the clients, and they build trust.
So what you're saying, both of you, is you don't have to have all the answers. You have to have the understanding, and then you build on it together. One of our founders of our portfolio company, which is a food delivery system in the Philippines, the founder has often said that when he goes into a company, the first 10 questions that are asked are normally from him about the business, rather than just pitching, asking to really understand the business. And there's been a couple of times where he said, we can't help you because the business is different to what I thought it was. So honesty and growing together. Okay. A founder's life can be very, very lonely, Emmanuel. How did the STA program help you in achieve what you needed to? How did it prepare you? What were the advantages as being part of that program?
I think the main advantage with the Singapore Tourism Accelerator is that pilot opportunity. So as a startup, when would you have the opportunity to go to Marina Bay Sands and then speak to the stakeholders and understand what's their pain point? So with a accelerator program like this, it allows us to speak to the stakeholders directly, understand where are their pain points, and from there understand how our solutions can actually bridge some of these gaps that they may have within their own processes. And from there, again, it's all about transparency, all about communications and proper planning, so that we don't I think I'm the worst person to say proper planning. I actually took up 3 pilot projects with STA. I'm the only startup that took up 3 pilot projects with them. But we spoke to our team internally, and we figured that we can actually manage it and handle it. And that's where we went into these 3 different projects. We set the timeline and we communicate with the clients.
And your association with STB and the program, Serene, goes back a while as well. How have you found it beneficial to be as connected with the program?
Well, while he's lonely, he cannot find a friend. I have a lot of friends. All sorts of vendors will come knocking on the door saying that, hey, I have this solution for you. Will you want to try it? I will get messages from HR to marketing to all sorts of solutions. So through the acceleration program, it actually being screened through. The vendors are really checked through. So with some test cases that they have done before and the assurance from STB that they have done some form of first layer check, we are more confident to talk to them. And when we approach them, we have an opportunity to talk to different vendors with different solutions at one go. I don't need to spend a lot of time to go to individual vendors to meet up a time, trying to understand them. And because my area of coverage covers through a wide span of areas, it actually takes up a lot of time. But through such platform, at one afternoon, I will be able to speak to all sorts of vendors and get to understand and then earmark which are the vendors that we think likely could be a possibility to work further. Yeah.
Yeah, we're big believers in the program. We've been associated with it for a long time and see the benefits as well. Serene, at some stage around the table, there is a CFO, there's the customer delivery person, there's yourself, there's the property maintenance and the whole engineering, and there is a founder or maybe a pitcher pitching to, and every one of those people are looking through a different lens. How do you internally align to make a decision which is a little bit of economics, a little bit of quality, a little bit of... How do you do that from a corporate perspective?
Yeah, I think the credibility of understanding what you need is important. Don't just do trial because it's free, because it will still take up your time and you're wasting a lot of people's time. Eventually, the staff will also understand that I'm going through this 6-month trial again and I'm not going to see any value from it. So that will erode the trust from both management as well as your team members. But if you go in with a purpose like, okay, I'm going for this trial because I'm trying to find a solution for X factor. And with the trial, you have a result that shows that it can eventually resolve your problem. You can always go back to your management and say that, hey, look at this. And by then, with the trial, you will be able to do a better ROI on what benefit does this project brings you. And it's easier to convince people rather than I hear say this thing works. I hear say this can solve this problem. But now I'm giving you actual result, and that definitely helps in convincing both the stakeholders of the management as well as the staff. Yeah.
And thank you. And how important is it to have an internal champion that becomes the main liaison point, as opposed to, because we often hear a startup saying, yeah, I deal with this person and I deal with this person and I deal with this person and this person's not motivated. Is it important to have one person internally as the main contact person?
Yes, definitely. You need somebody to set the direction and to hold the project together. By putting it to different stakeholders, they may be the subject expert for their area of work, but they may not be able to string everything together and understand the larger scheme of things. So the key project manager for whichever trial or POC that we have to do is I would say the soul of this project. If he himself or she herself don't believe in the project, it will definitely not work, because they will not sit down and find solution. They'll just say, this one cannot. Yeah.
Thank you. As a founder, you've been hearing Serena from the corporate side talking about internal champion, aligning internal. Can I be a little bit risque here and say, where has there been a project or something that almost fell off the rails, but you saved it? And I guess what was it that sort of was trying to derail it? And then how did you rescue it?
I think continue on the topic on different stakeholders, right? So sustainability or waste management is not a single department problem. So it's not just the sustainability department or the facility management department issues. For example, with Marina Bay Sands. So when we say, okay, waste is generated from every single corner of the whole property. It can be from the retail shops, it can be from the back of house, from the restaurants, and all these different places or departments have different stakeholders. So one of the key challenges is how do I align the interests of all stakeholders? So if I were to speak to the retail team, their main focus will not be sustainability. Their main focus will be on operations. If I were to speak to the QA or safety team, their main concern will not be operations or sustainability. They will be on safety. So then, how can our solutions be able to help each and every of these different stakeholders and departments make their work easier, better, safer, cheaper in a way? And that's, I think, something that we need to be able to juggle. So one of the projects that we did over here was to understand how can we collect the different waste and recycling data from the different retail stores. And that was one of the challenge that they have, the pain point that they have. So we had to speak to the sustainability team, and then at the same time speak to the retail and operations team to understand, okay, how can our solution fit in and how would it benefit them. So earlier you mentioned about, you know, going there to ask them questions first before you pitching them. So the thing is that they are not there to help us. They don't understand what we do, and it's not in their interest to know what we are doing. So then it's how we convince them that our solution will be able to help them solve this issue. So how I did that was that I tell them, yes, we can collect the data of the waste and recyclables that's generated from the different retail stores. And then how can my solution help you operationally is that whenever they collect the waste and recyclables from the stores, they have to go through a manual process of signing off and stuff like that. So what I did was I incorporated my IoT sensors onto the push cart that they are using to collect waste. And as and when they collect from the different tenants, we collect the waste data, we collect the recyclables data, and we have a time clock in. And I tell them I'm able to extract this information and generate a separate operational report for you. And that actually convinced them, yeah, this is something that we want.
So what I'm hearing is sometimes you have to interpret what they're saying, give them a solution to a problem they may not even know they have, without telling them they've got a problem.
Yes.
Okay, good salesmanship. Good advice here from everybody. Serene, from a corporate perspective, what advice would you give founders in the room on as they develop their product, pre-product, not coming to you and say, here's a solution for you, or I want to sell you this. I guess you do get a lot of, through STA, STB and others, that want to come and just talk to you about the business and understand that. What's the general advice you would give as an experienced corporate in that area?
I would say the co-creation part, really, as every solution that's out there, there will definitely be some issues user will face. So by being willing to co-create, you differentiate yourself differently from wherever that's already in the market, and bringing solution like what Emmanuel has shared is sharing what solutions you have in your own area of expertise. As a user, I will be blinded by my daily operations. I don't know what is available in the market. But when we sit down and when we look through things, and if you see that, hey, actually this portion can be resolved by whichever technology I have or solutions I have, and I put it on the table, that brings about a bigger value than the 1 + 1 = 3. And that is the kind of result that we want for every collaboration, and not just buying something off the shelf.
Yep, understand. So to really understand it and come from a position of knowledge as opposed to just trying to ram a solution through to you. Okay. AI, big buzzword. AI. So I think that if I don't get a deck that's got AI in it today, I think there's something wrong almost. I'm exaggerating. What role, well, has the role of AI increased from 2 years ago in your vision and your product and your deliverables? And that's a two-part question. And where do you see AI playing a more significant role?
In fact, we have already integrated AI in our platform. So our SaaS platform is fully AI integrated. Why we push for it, we spend a lot of time and effort on it, is because we realize that with speaking to our stakeholders, again, waste is not something that they look at it every day. It's not like today, oh, okay, let's look at how much waste I have. Nobody will do that. So what we want to be able to do is to automate this entire experience for our clients so that we can help them save. An important term that I learned from the hospitality stakeholders is executive time. So they don't want their executive to be spending a lot of time on things that they deem not as important. So what AI actually help us do is, we can help them save 1 to 2 hours per day. So what we want to be able to do is to automate this entire experience for our clients so that we can help them save. An important term that I learned from the hospitality stakeholders is executive time. So they don't want their executive to be spending a lot of time on things that they deem not as important. So what AI actually help us do is it helps us automate the entire analysis for our clients and the reporting of it as well. So with just a click of a button, they can run the analysis. With just a click of a button, they can generate reports that they can send to their management, to third party, to auditors, to stakeholders, and that actually saved them a lot of executive time. It literally eliminated that time that the executive required to sit down, run through the data set, generate a report. And in a space like the waste management, right, is a very traditional business or traditional industry where a lot of these functions are still using a very manual process. So with our technology, we are able to automate this entire process. It really helps save them time and cost and effort as well. Apart from that, we are also trying to work with our hospitality stakeholders to see how can our solutions together with AI also helps in visitor or customer engagement as well. So I do have a booth down at C11 and I have an AI bin that I'm showcasing for the first time in an exhibition. So what it does, it only accepts recyclables that are deemed that can be recycled in the context of our client. So in our case over here, I program it to only accept plastic, so plastic bottle, plastic bags, etc. So if you are able to go there and have a check it out, it doesn't accept any other waste stream. So it has image recognition capability. It provides engagement with the visitor and it tells them, okay, why is these are not recyclable? Why these are not accepted? Where should this be? And it eliminates a lot of those confusion that people have.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Serene, Mount Fraser Leisure Group, iconic in Singapore, world-class tourism facilities and everything. How are you seeing AI? And are the solutions through our AI coming to you at the pace that you want them to? Or is there still a drag on people talking about AI, but it's not proving the economic and the solutions that you need?
Well, we do see that AI is picking up, but the solutions are not coming to us as fast as what we wanted, and which is why the recent T-Cube trial that we are doing, we are building an AI solution for it. We are still in the midst of the trial, and we will share whether it is successful maybe next year. Yeah, but we are constantly looking for AI to see how can it smoothen the process of our operations. It will not be able to replace the manual works, for example, repairing of things, but I'm sure AI can assist us in doing all these manual work in time to come. And that's what we are trialing, and hopefully it will be a success.
Thank you. Okay, we've just got a couple of minutes left. Emmanuel, for the founders in the room, I'm going to ask Serene for the corporates in the room, but for the founders in the room, what's 30, 45 seconds of advice that you would like to give them about how to deal with the hospitality industry and anything related to your journey?
I think the hospitality industry is a very unique industry. It has its own sets of problems. So instead of sitting in your office and then trying to design a solution that you hope will fit the industry, go to the stakeholders, speak to them, ask them where's their pain point. And then from there, look at your solution and see whether there's a need for you to pivot, for you to develop something new, and then go back to the stakeholders again, speak to them. It's a constant kind of communication. So I spent a lot of time doing that initially. Every 2 weeks I will call up or I will email them. I'll say, hey, do you have time? Can I speak to you? You don't ask, you don't get an answer. Yeah, so just ask. Yeah.
Sage advice. Thank you. And Serene, for the corporates in the room who are here saying, I want to see what's happening in innovation and what's happening in technology in our sector, what advice do you give them?
Well, one advice will be, of course, signing up with T-Cubes if you can, because that saves a lot of time for the individuals. The next thing is about sharing every trial and results with your team. Getting your own teammates, understanding what were the constraints, what were the challenges, why we didn't pull through, and we still have to constantly be doing trial, will be important for them. So that the morale will be there and they will not lose heart saying that, oh, this is just another paper exercise that we have to go through. And that also brings about the kind of support as well as the confidence from your management that you are not wasting time trying to do something because it's free or because you are involved in it or because they think that you have nothing else to do. Kidding is actually take up a lot of time, a lot of commitment. As we said, you have to be a project leader. You have to see through it and not just let it run on its own, hoping that miracles will happen. And you have to be committed before you even go on this journey. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you both. It's been really enjoyable. Thank you for the insight, the reconfirmations and everything. And over to you, Simin.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick, for the fascinating discussion. And thank you to our panelists for sharing your journeys and insights. So the stories we heard today are from the Singapore Tourism Accelerator. It is designed to create. So STA is your launchpad offering direct access to pilot opportunities with leading tourism businesses, funding and support from our Singapore Tourism Board. And if you have a technology, a team and a vision to make a real difference, so we would like to hear from you. So please scan the QR code to indicate your interest today. So thank you all once again for joining us and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.